Hello, Richard Smith here with Walk by Faith Step by Step, a part of Alaska Christian Mission. I'm here today at the Alamance Battleground in Alamance County, North Carolina. I want to take a second to talk about something that happened. It says on May 16th, 1771, Governor William Tryon led 1,200 militiamen here to this very spot and defeated the frontier rebels called the Regulators, who protested high taxes and lack of legal recourse. The North Carolina troops who biohacked here, I don't know what that means, here in April of 1865 would have known the story of the governor's retreat of the rebels after the battle. 6 local men were hung in Hillsborough for their treason because of that battle with the Regulators. I've often passed by this battleground. As a matter of fact, my sister used to work up the road here at the Trust Place, and I did too for a little while. Alamance County has been my home for, 45, 46 years. I spent 5 years moving around a little bit. And I've come out here and I brought my grandchildren. We went in the building and we watched the video on what happened that day. There's a video in there you can watch. But you sometimes forget why this battle took place. I'm going to stop here and move out. So I moved out here to where the monument is, away from the road a little bit, hopefully to get some of the noise away from the microphone. This monument sits back here at the Alamance Battleground, and as you see behind me, the museum that holds some artifacts and the film area are sitting back there for you to visit when it's open. Today's date is Christmas. It's December 25th, the year 2018. I'm out here on Christmas Day making a video. One of the things that I want to point out is that, to me, when I think back on what happened here on this field, there were Regulators who were here fighting for a purpose. Okay, that purpose was they were tired of the taxes and they were tired of not getting any legal recourse from the taxes. And so they would work very hard and tirelessly to try to get ahead in life, only to have people take it away from them, and they have nothing to show. You know, we all have a reason to do what we do. I was talking the other day to people on Facebook. I was doing a live Facebook chat, and one of the things that I believe we all ask ourselves is, why are we here? And I made the comment, and I wanted to come out here because, you know, we see trees all around us all the time. You know, obviously I'm surrounded by trees, so this is a good place to do it, but I'm going to turn the camera around toward the monument and get that in the backdrop. Hang on just a second. So all these trees that are around us, when we think about our life, we think about our purpose for being here. What purpose do we think we have? We forget sometimes that even the smallest things have a reason for being. Whether it be the ants that are crawling on the ground right now, which probably aren't a lot of them because it's too cold, or the trees that are growing. What purpose would the trees have, you ask? Imagine a world without a tree. What would we not have? Well, we wouldn't have a lot of the houses that we have built out of wood if it wasn't for the trees. We wouldn't be breathing oxygen, more than likely, without the trees. I don't know about you, but I like to breathe oxygen. So I'm thankful for every tree that's out here. Everything has a purpose. We all have a purpose in life. It's not until we actually sit down and think about it that we understand that. And that is one of the things that I think we all miss. We're so busy in our crazy, hectic lives that we forget to just stop and listen. One of the things that I did as a kid, and I have tried to teach my granddaughter several times, I call her baby girl for the sake of keeping her real name out of it. And I'm going to talk about my baby girl because she is the inspiration, part of the inspiration for why I do what I do. I want my grandkids, and yours for that matter, to have a better way of life. And these videos that I make might not have much impact right now, but maybe a year from now, maybe 5 years from now, maybe 10 years from now, 20, 30, maybe my great-grandchildren will watch these videos and they'll get something from it 50 years from now. What do we get from the act that happened in 1771? We get lessons about life from people who came out here and gave their life for what they believed in. They laid down their life. They came out here knowing that there's a good chance they might not see their wives, children again. And they came out here to fight for what they believed in. Well, the point I'm getting to, let me not get off track. One of the things I like to do with my granddaughters, I like to go out to Cedar Rock Park. And I like to just walk the trails. And every now and then, walking these trails, I will... with a little man it's kind of hard, but I will ask them just to stop and listen. See, that's the key to it, okay? We all can have a feeling of what we're supposed to do. We all can have a feeling of what our purpose is, but it's not until we actually stop and listen to God that we start to see where it is we're supposed to go and what we're supposed to do. So I challenge you sometime when you're out in the woods, if you ever go out in the woods, Cedar Rock Park is a great place to go walking out in the woods. There's trails out there and you're safe there for the most part, I believe. But go out on that long trail away from the hustle and bustle and walk the trail, and every now and then just stop, sit down. There's some benches out there on the trail. Sit down on the benches. Just listen to the birds. I just heard one a second ago. There's one over there somewhere. There's squirrels around here. I used to think that squirrels were sitting up in the tree laughing at me, eating their nuts. Oh, that guy's crazy. Yep, that's me. I used to joke about that all the time. It's kind of funny I'm bringing it up now. But just stop and listen to what God has in your life. I hear a dog barking. I hear a gunshot. I hear a car coming. That's my challenge to you today, folks. I'm going to make this short because I want to go somewhere else and make another part of this video. I challenge you. Stop and listen to God. Thanks a lot. Going to go to our next segment now. Hug someone you love today. Hello, Richard Smith again here with Walk by Faith Step by Step. I'm out here today on Christmas Day, December 25th, year 2018, in beautiful Alamance Crossing, where all the shops are. I want to get a quick visual of the tree behind me. It's not lit up, obviously, because it's daytime, but I still wanted to show this beautiful tree and what a great job they did of putting it up. Now I'm going to go move somewhere else where it's a little more quiet and cars aren't directly behind me. So enjoy the view. So, at the risk of getting stuck, I'm not going to sit down in my buddy Clifford here, but I just had to make this short little clip of the video because my granddaughter and grandson love Clifford, and they love to sit in this thing every time they get a chance, every time they come up here and sit in Clifford. So I had to add good old Clifford to the video. All right, let's move on. Hello everybody, Richard Smith here with Walk by Faith Step by Step. It's Christmas Day, December 25th, year 2018. I'm out here at beautiful Alamance Crossing. I decided I might possibly go see the Aquaman movie today by myself, and I thought this would be a good place to come out here and make a video while I'm out. So, I have debated on what to talk about today in my mind. There's so many things that I want to talk about. There's so many things that I want to share with you. But first, let me wish you a Merry Christmas. I know you're probably going to see this video after Christmas. That's okay. Because I probably won't have it up until tomorrow. But, the number one question I always get when I tell people that I want to go to Alaska to be a missionary is why? Why do I want to do this? It's a tough question to answer, but I'm going to try to answer it as truthfully as I possibly can. While all the cars in the background, I want to give you something to think about. There's thousands of people right now driving in those cars going to a destination that they're supposed to be at. Okay? Whether it be to visit family or to visit friends or just to go home or whatever, they have a purpose for going in that direction. My life has been about that, and I believe this with all my heart. My direction is to go to Alaska. I'll be honest with you and tell you that I have an idea of what I'm supposed to do in Alaska, but I'm not 100% sure. But that's what faith's all about. Okay? It's believing that there's a purpose for you and God. It's a purpose for you to do God's will in a certain place. A lot of people have this feeling about going to Africa or wherever it may be, Haiti, Jamaica, Venezuela, wherever they want to go to try to serve God. For me, it's about going to Alaska. God has chosen me for that reason. Why do I think that? Okay, so let's get down to the brass tacks. It's hard to see the plan for your life, what God has intended for your life, in one moment. Okay? Now, preacher was talking about this Sunday. We all have free will. We all have the ability to choose whether or not we're going to do something. Okay? It's been my choice for many, many years, and here I am 51 years old, on whether or not I'm going to live my life for myself or live my life for God. I will be honest and tell you that most of my life has been spent worrying about what I want to do. Okay? I had dreams when I was in my 20s of owning the first Burlington professional soccer team, and I went after that with all my heart. I came very close. Being a grandfather and being a father has been the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. I get to see how my life impacts my children and my grandchildren, especially my grandchildren. My son's a little hard-headed. He's not listening to me anyway. But in particular, how I believe God is using what I'm doing to talk to my granddaughter, baby girl. Now, I don't know what God's purpose is for her life. I don't know what she's meant to do. I have some feelings, I have some thoughts, and whether I'm right or not, I don't know. But time will tell. But looking at my grandkids, it has helped me to realize that I need to quit worrying about living life for me. I need to live my life to serve God. Because I'm trying not to get too off track, because I don't want this video to be too long. How did I know, or how did I come across the idea that God has a plan for me in Alaska? Okay. When I look back at my life from now until the time I was born, and I think about everything that's happened in my life from the time I was born until now, I believe there's what I call a connected dots thing going on, okay? I believe if I look and I see what's happened, and the choices that I've made, I believe that those things add up to me going to Alaska. Now, theoretically, it could have been anywhere. It could have been Montana. It could have been, and I went to Montana for a month or 2 or 3, and I didn't have any feelings about being there, right? I went to Maine. I loved Maine. It was beautiful, but I didn't have a feeling that I was supposed to be there. Personally, for me, I loved it there. I would love to stay there, but I don't think that's what God wanted me to do. Went to Michigan for a little while, same thing. I was there for a purpose. My purpose was over. It was time to come home. As a kid, when I was saved at age 12, I remember telling my friends, God, whoever would listen, that I wanted to be a preacher one day. I wanted to be a youth minister. I wanted to work with youth. Even at 12 years old, I made the comment, I want to work with teenagers. I want to work with children. As a teenager, I would help out in things like after school daycare at Andrews. I would go over there occasionally and help out. Even though I probably wasn't supposed to be there, I'd go over there and entertain the kids, read to the kids, talk to the kids. And then when I started coaching soccer at age 21, the reason I started coaching was because my son was getting ready to be born. I had met someone, my first wife. We had a son, Richard, of course, the third. And I was nervous about being a father, so I started coaching soccer to get used to working with kids. And I found that I had a gift. I was coaching 4 and 5-year-old kids, boys and girls, and I found that I had a gift for working with these kids. I would take the time to listen to them, to instruct them, to teach them a little bit about soccer. Let's face it, what are you going to teach a 4 or 5-year-old about soccer? You're going to teach them how to do exactly right? No, you're going to teach them the general fundamentals. But what I learned was that by instructing these children in soccer and in my testimony, the walk that I walked, that I was helping shape young people. And it clicked in me. And my ministry, if you want to call it that, became coaching soccer for 6-7 years. I coached 2 teams a season, 4 or 5-year-olds starting off with. The next season I coached 2 teams of 4 and 5-year-olds and pushed myself to the limit, coaching soccer, coaching 30 kids, 25, 30 kids all at once on a soccer field, 4 or 5-year-olds. Now that's a lot of fun. And it was a lot of fun. And then I moved up to 7 and 8-year-olds the next season. I coached 2 7 and 8-year-old teams. I went to 10 and 11-year-olds, and I coached the 10 and 11-year-olds up until they were 12 and 13, and then I coached them from age 12 to 15. And I spent 4 years, I believe it was, I think that's right, coaching 12 through 14-year-olds. And I got to watch 12-year-old young men who came to me so shy and so unsure of themselves. And I got to watch them grow. And I wasn't just their coach, I was their friend. We practiced year-round, except for maybe a month or 2 during the winter breaks. And we spent time with each other. I invited them over to my house. we did things together, and we were not just the guy that he saw on the field to coach that day. I was trying to make this my ministry of helping young people, and I would listen to them, and I would listen to their issues and their problems and their frustrations about life. And I cared. I got one guy on here now, Roger Moore, who played for me for 2 years, or a year, at least a year, who is in Australia, who still talks to me every now and then. Sean McKenna is a police officer in Raleigh. John Collins is building houses here in Alamance County. Sean Carter's around here somewhere. There's 4 or 5 boys that played for me all those years. And I'd like to think that I had impact on their life. Granted, I wasn't as Christ-centered as I should be. And I look back at that now, I wish I would have been more Christ-centered. But something happened to me. And this is where my battle has been for many, many years. Okay, this is what I had to overcome to have the faith to start Alaska Christian Mission. When I was 17, my father had a bad accident. He fell on some steps at the house. He hit his head on a concrete floor. He had to go to the hospital, Chapel Hill, where they kept him for 3 months in intensive care, and he battled, and they had to take out a part of his brain where a blood clot had formed when he hit the floor. Somehow, at the church that I was attending, the church that I was a regular member of, the church that I went to every time the door was open, visitation, Wednesday night, I was there every time the door was open. Somehow, someone at that church started a rumor that I pushed my father down the steps. How do I know this? One night I was on visitation with my youth pastor, a man I highly respected, and it was just me and him that night. And Doug looked at me and he said, "Richard, I got to ask you a question." I said, "Okay." I'll never forget where I was. I was sitting right there in the church parking lot. We was getting ready to take off to go somewhere. I was sitting in the van. He looked at me and said, "I heard a rumor going around church I need to ask you about." I said, "All right, go ahead." He said, "I heard a rumor that you, when your dad had an accident, you were the one that caused it. You pushed him down the steps." Oh, let me tell you, this rumor had been going on for probably 2, maybe 3 months before I heard about it. I had no idea. This rumor went all through the church. The church that my parents were a member of, that my dad had most of his family attending. And I didn't handle this rumor very well. At first I tried to let God handle it, and then I stopped. And then I tried to handle it myself. And I got very frustrated because I didn't handle it right. The night my dad had his accident, I was at a friend's house. And I came home to find my dad at the bottom of the stairs. My mom met me at the door and said, "Richard, your dad's passed out. Something's wrong with him. Can you help me put him into bed?" I said, "Okay." I put him into bed, and we thought he had been drinking. So we let him sleep it off. The next morning he was the same way. We took him to the hospital, so we found out what had happened. But I wasn't even home when that happened. But this rumor that was started at the church, a church that I thought people loved and respected me, I have let ruin my life for 30 years. Because I didn't handle it the right way. That's my fault. Okay? I take the blame for it. I didn't let God handle it. I've been frustrated with God at times. I've looked up in the heavens and I've asked God, "Why are you letting this happen to me? Why is this happening to me?" I lost 3 jobs over the next 15 years because of that rumor. I was sitting in the office of the principal at Graham High School. I was in-school suspension teacher there. And he called me up to the office for this one particular reason. He said, "Richard," my son was 3 years old. He said, "Richard, I heard a rumor going around Alamance County schools that you did this and you did that. I want to know what kind of man's sitting in the classroom with my children." That was 10 years. Almost 10 years after that happened. 8 to 10 years. I looked at him and I told him the exact story that I've been telling everybody else what happened. And he believed me. But yet, this rumor went all around the Alamance County school system, and the Alamance County school system would never again talk to me about hiring me for the school system. After that year was over, I was let go of my job at the end of the year, and I was not rehired. I have fought that rumor for years. So for me, when trusting people, trusting church members was what I had an issue with. It wasn't trusting God. I did ask God why several times, I'll admit to that one. And I had my battles with God about it. But I don't want to say that I completely lost my faith in God. So I looked at coaching soccer and working with kids as my ministry. Okay. It wasn't until 6 years ago that God had really been working in my life. He'd really been talking to me. He'd really been sharing things with me. And I was watching what was going on around me. I was taking the time to be a grandfather to my grandchildren. I spent 6 years taking care of my grandkids, night and day, 24/7, 7 days a week. I love my grandchildren more than anything else in this world. And I believe God was showing me this place called Rogers City, Michigan. Now, my reason for looking in the first place was because I wanted a place to move to where my grandchildren would be safe. That was my number one priority. And I started Googling safest places in America to raise children. And Rogers City, Michigan was one of those top places. Actually, it wasn't. It was a place down below that. But as I started looking in that area, I found Rogers City, Michigan. And I found out how safe it was. And so I researched Rogers City, Michigan for about a year. I felt like God was telling me to go there, but was I just going to pick up everything and just move my family there just because I felt like God said so? Oh, my son already thought I was crazy. That would have been really crazy. I needed a push. I needed God to say, okay, Richard, here you go for it. And an instance happened where I no longer had a place to stay. My son and his wife and my grandchildren no longer had a place to stay. And I decided at that moment that I was going to go to Rogers City, Michigan. And with a blink of an eye, $250 in my wallet and a paid-for car, and no plans, no place to stay, no job waiting for me, no house waiting for me to move into, I picked up my family, my son, his wife, my grandchildren, and we moved to Rogers City, Michigan, 29 hours away. But you know what? I can't explain it. Because I'm a guy, if you guys know me, you know I worry really bad. You know, I think about stuff. I double question stuff. I do the pros and cons. I do the what ifs, and I do all that stuff. That's just me. That's who I am. I cannot explain to you the peace I had in that drive to Rogers City, Michigan. I had no clue what I was going to do, but I felt like it's what God wanted me to do. See, we all want the answers laid out plain in front of us. We all want to know exactly what's going to happen. We all want to know every detail, everything, so that we are safe. And we hesitate. We question whether or not we're supposed to do things if it's not safe, if we don't have a job waiting for us, if we don't have a house to live in. But circumstances happen where I basically didn't have a choice. It was either stay here homeless or go there homeless. And I chose free will to do what I believed God wanted me to do. Now, peace, yes, I had. Worried, I I was thinking about it. I was doing the pros and cons. What am I going to do when I get up there? I had a game plan. I had things I was going to do that I hoped that I was going to accomplish. And so when we got up there, we were tired. We drove nonstop all the way up there. We got up there, and we found a motel room for the night, and we all got in the motel room, and we slept. I woke up. I'll never forget it. We had a mattress on top of the car. We drove up there with a mattress on top of the car. There was snow on the mattress because it had snowed that night. So I got the mattress off the car and I put it in the motel room. I asked the guy we rented the motel room from, how long do we have before we had to be out? He told me a certain time. It's okay. And I went out and I started following that plan that I had laid out. And I went to a used car dealership with my title of my car in my hand, and I walked in and I sit down with the owner's daughter, and I told her the story while I was there. I told her I was honest with her. I told her this is where I felt like God wanted me to be. I said, here's the title to my car. Well, can I sell you my car? I had 3 months to wait until our tax money came back. It was November. We were going to get our tax money in February. So I had 3 or 4 months. I said, can I sell you my car? Give me enough money so I can pay the rent on the place, and I'll at least have a place to live until we get our tax money back. We had food stamps to eat, so we had food to eat. And so she introduced me to her dad, the donor, and I talked to her dad, and I told him the same thing. He said, Richard, come back at 3 o'clock. I said, okay. Came back at 3 o'clock. He took us over to this place. We walked in. It was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartment. Now, granted, it wasn't the Palace Deluxe, okay? But it was livable. It had 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, kitchen, dining room, no furniture. Room and board, rent included heat. It included electricity. It included trash. It included water, everything. For $550 a month, $500 a month. And we looked around. He looked at me. He said, Richard, what do you think? I said, it's nice. He said, I'll tell you what you do, Richard, and I'll never forget his exact words. I'll tell you what you do, Richard. You go ahead and unpack your stuff. Here's the key. You come see me tomorrow. People, if you never understand why I want to go to Alaska to help people, get this. Get this one point, okay? This man had free will to choose whether or not to help me or not. He could have sent me packing. He could have said, nope, this guy's going to use me. He even told me afterwards, he was wondering if I was going to pay him the money I owed him. He could have just threw me to the streets. He could have not cared. But his words were this, Richard, I'm a Christian. I believe in helping people. Unpack your stuff. Make yourself at home. Come see me tomorrow. Here's the key. You talk about, wow. This is the first guy. Well, no, I did go to a new car place just to see. Then they sent me to him. This was the first real guy that I talked to when I was there. I went all the way up there and I went to talk to this guy, the first person I talked to. And God said, I got you, son. You listen to me. You did what I asked you to. Now I'm going to take care of you. And he used that man to help me. He used that man to show me that God loves me, that God's always going to take care of me. And if I follow his will, if I stop living for myself and start living for God, that whatever happens, whatever comes my way, I will be okay, because God will always watch after me. People, you want a neon sign? You want the pointed arrow go in this direction from God? I got mine that day. We unpacked our stuff. What I didn't know about this wonderful place was that the whole town, well, half the town leaves for Florida during the winter. So you don't read about that on the internet. So the unemployment rate jumps up to like 40%. So we couldn't find work. I couldn't find a job. But we had a roof over our head. We had people that helped us. There was a guy named Richard, who owned Richard's clothing store. I went in to talk to him because I was trying to put a website together for the town. And he asked me to come back later on. I came back and he had given me these big sacks of cans. Now up there you can take, there's machines in the grocery stores and other places where you can take cans that you buy, like 12-ounce cans like Coca-Cola, Pepsi, and you can put them in this machine and get a dime back for each can you put in there. Recycling campaign. And so he brought me these big huge sacks of cans that he had just laying in his garage, cans that he had been saving. But here's the funny part, if you think about it, why had he been saving them? Why was God telling him to put these cans away? Because God had a plan for my life. And God used this man putting all these cans away every day for God knows how long, to help me. See, God had a plan for me. I had to listen though. I have free will. I had to act on that plan. There was a church up there. It was a Presbyterian church that gave out food bank food. We got food from them occasionally. We did have food. We did have food stamps, but one of the things we couldn't get was diapers for the little boy. So church helped us. There were individuals that helped us. There were people that were very nice to me that really helped out a lot. And when we got our tax money back, I paid the gentleman what I owed him in the rent. We bought a truck, took my car, traded in, bought a truck and a $500 camper. And we packed everything back up and we came back home. I knew my time was over. I knew I wasn't supposed to be there anymore. I could feel it. But God allowed me to see things through that trip that I had never seen before. I may not have had the greatest things in the world, but I had a roof over my head. I had heat. I had food to eat. That gentleman who we rented from, when we first got there, he gave me $75 to go to the thrift store, buy some furniture, buy some pots and pans, because we didn't have anything to cook with. And he allowed us to do that. Didn't ask for it back. God puts people in our lives to do his will. Those people have to be willing to do that will. For me, when I came back home, I knew what God had done. God had shown me that if I just have the faith to follow him, that he will take care of me. But I still had to wrestle with something. I still had to wrestle with the fact that what I was seeing, what I believed God wanted me to do, was too big for me to do on my own. I mean, when I looked at the plan, when I looked at the whole picture, I said, there's no way I can do it by myself. I knew, and I wrestled with this for a long time, I knew that if I was going to make this happen, if I was going to follow God's will in my life, I had to ask others for help. That meant I had to go back to the same church that spread rumors about me and ask for help. That meant that I had to take the time to go to other churches that had heard that rumor and thought of me as some bad guy and ask for their help. I'll give you an amazing story. How did I meet my pastor and friend Andy Clapp? I was driving down the road one day, Ramada Inn, in this Suburban I had, and it just stopped. I mean, I was going down the road and it just quit. And I was able to pull into the parking lot of Mount Zion Baptist Association and park it perfectly in the parking spot before it completely died. And then it died. I sit there in the parking lot and I wondered, all right, God, what's up? You know, I went around, I popped the hood, I put my hands on the engines. I said, God, please, get this thing started, please. Whatever's wrong with it, get it started. I don't want to be stuck here. And then I stopped and I thought, why am I here? God, what purpose is there for me being here in this parking lot? I went in and I talked to the guy that owns the place. I said, you know, if you don't mind, can I let this car sit here for a day or two while I figure out what I'm going to do? Because I didn't have them $250 to have it towed back home. He said, yeah, it'll be all right. You can let it sit there for a little while. And I started telling him my story about wanting to go to Alaska and what I believe God had in my heart to do. And he told me about this crazy young pastor named Andy Clapp, who pastored a church called Mount Zion Baptist Church. Now, I've passed this church before in the past, and I've looked at this church as I passed it by, and I'll be honest with you, I've thought, that old church, ain't nothing there for me. It's not the place for me. I need something new. I need something upbeat. I need something live. That looks like a dead church. What was I wrong? But I got Andy's number, and I called him, and I talked to him the first time. And you know what Andy did? He went above and beyond, and he helped me. I needed to get that car fixed. He came up with the money to do it. One Thanksgiving, after my mom passed away, he made sure I had Thanksgiving dinner. I found out when I made the announcement about him helping me that it wasn't the church that did it, it was him. I had a tooth aggravating me I was worried about. I couldn't pay to go to the dentist. I still owe that man $125 that he paid for my dentist bill out of his own money. I'm going to pay him back one day. He's bought my dinner a couple times now. I ran into him at Subway, didn't have but like $5 in my wallet. He ordered, and I thought he was ordering for himself. He ended up paying for mine and his food. I'm going to tell you what, that man has a heart. I believe that Andy Clapp was sent in my life for a reason. And you know what? He has helped me bridge that problem of trust in church. Look, people that go to that church, they know me. Okay, they go see me walk in, they go see me sit down. I may wave to a few of them, I may act stupid and say, hey everybody, but I pretty much sit to myself because I'm there and I stick to myself. That's who I am. I have trouble trusting people. But I believe so much in what God has done in my life. And God has put me together with this crazy man called Andy Clapp, who happens to be related to one of my good friends, Marcy. And I look at this man and I think, God has a purpose for this man, just like he has a purpose for me. And I believe that God put me in his path for a reason, because I need him and he needs me. We all need each other, folks. So, getting back to the point, the sun's in your eyes. I'm going to turn this camera around. Getting back to the point, when I made up my mind that I was going to serve God like this, I had to let go of a lot of things that I've been holding on to. One of them was that fear of trusting people, because when you look at the big picture of what I want to do, it's way too big for me to do by myself. I hadn't told anybody this until a couple months ago. I've been single now for many years, and I believe God told me a secret that I needed to hear so that I would wait for the right woman. I believe that woman lives in Alaska right now. And I believed that before I started talking to this lady that I'm talking to at the moment. I believed that she wasn't here, that God had her in Alaska for me, and that when I met her I would know it. But the key to knowing it would be, this is the part where the faith comes in. The key to knowing it would be that her name would be Michelle. Okay, now, the crazy part about that is, what if, it's just myself thinking, what if, say for instance, the lady that's supposed to be my soulmate, the lady that God has in store for me to meet, is something other than the name Michelle? What if her name is Kathy or Lisa? Well, there we go. What if I'm waiting for the wrong, what if I'm waiting and I've got the name wrong? That's where faith comes in. You have to have faith. I have to have faith that when I took off to Michigan that everything was going to be okay. I have to have faith that when I'm planning to build Alaska Christian Mission that everything's going to be okay. I have to have faith that God has a soulmate out there who is going to be there to help me build this. Her name is Michelle, whether it be her first name or middle name. But I'll know it when I see it. And I'll know the worth was waiting. The waiting was worth it. You look at your life, and I made a video earlier, and I'm going to stick it with this one, but you look at your life and you just need to listen. You need to look at things. You need to look at your path, where you're going. I worked with kids most of my life, coaching soccer. I've been with my grandchildren for 6-7 years, mentoring them, teaching them, working with them, because I wanted to be there. It was my choice to be there. I could have done something else. I could have went on and did my own thing. It was my choice to be a mentor and to help my family and to help my son and to help his wife and to help my grandchildren and to be there with them. And I've often wondered, why, God? Why didn't I just go off and start a career? Why didn't I go jump back into management? Why didn't I worry about making all this money? Why did I sit there and literally go without money for years to be with my grandchildren? God was teaching me something I needed to learn. See, it's not about money for me. It's not about how much money I make. It's about what my life means. Alaska Christian Mission, I don't know the exacts. I'll be honest with you. I've got ideas. I've got things that I think will happen when I get there. I believe certain things will happen. What exactly? I can't pinpoint it. I can't go on down to the very exacts because I don't know the very exacts. But I believe with all my heart that I'm supposed to be in Alaska one day. When, I don't know. I'll figure it out. God will tell me. When it's ready, when it's time for it to happen, God will let me know. Until then, I'll keep doing what I'm doing. You have to have faith. You have to follow God's will in your life. If you don't, you're going to be miserable. You've got free will to choose. What you do with it is up to you. God can't make you do anything. He hopes you'll do the right thing. For me, it's about connecting the dots. And I have been watching the last several months as God has been showing me that I am on the right path. Things have happened in my life that have been so amazing. And God has opened doors. God is using others because I can't do it by myself. It's too big. I know. I can see it. I can see the end of the race. I know where I'm supposed to run. And I'm going to run there. I'm going to walk there. I'm going to listen. I'm going to stop and listen. But I'm going to go there. God's going to show me the way. It's all about faith, folks. Do you have the faith to follow God's will in your life? Do you have the faith to stop doing something that you know is wrong in your heart and follow God? It's the biggest thing I could ever do for people out there, is to do this and set an example of following God's will for others to see. It's a big task. Am I up for it? I guess time will tell. But I'm going to keep walking. I'm going to jog occasionally. I might even run for a short distance before I give out. And I'm going to stop and listen. But I'm going to keep going in that direction, because I believe that's what God wants me to do. Maybe one day I'll have a crazy female partner to help me out. I'm betting her name will be Lisa. Oh, I messed that up. I bet her name will be Michelle. Sorry. But you know what? When that happens, it'll be amazing to watch. You talk about a fairy tale, folks. When God puts you with the one you're supposed to be with, it will be awesome. Anyway, that's enough of that for today. I think I've took enough of your time. Merry Christmas to all. It is Christmas Day after all. I'm getting ready to go watch a movie. I'll make this video. Hope you have a great day. Don't give up on God. Stop and listen. Hug someone you love today.